Insane in the membrane.
And welcome to the show, Insane in the Membrane. This is Rich Wilson, your old pal, and this week I'm joined by the mighty Darren Harriott. Hello, mate.
All right, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, little bit of a scratch
good
there,
one, isn't
isn't it?
I like that.
Loop. Who needs a loop behaviour?
I love that.
Just have that every couple of minutes. That'd be great.
How's it going, Rich?
Yeah, good man. We had you on before, and it was a great chat then. And so much has happened since the last time you've been on. Dancing on Ice superstar. What's going on, man?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's one of those things you sort of just go, what's the worst that can happen? And I'm currently still in physio.
Oh, mate.
For numerous injuries, man. Yeah, I did my knee in. I've got whiplash, so I have to get that seen to once a week. I've got a new scar on my arm from when a blade sliced my arm open.
Man.
I've got a bit of bone sticking out on my knee. But you know, it's still better than Christmas gigs.
This is it, yeah. All in the name of entertainment. Jesus Christ.
I know. Yeah, it was rough, man.
Mate, did you ice skate before?
No, I'd never even been to an ice rink before. I remember
Really?
I walked in on the first day and was like, oh, this is cold. I had no idea what I was getting into. And I mean, it's really fun. Like ice skating, it's such a strange niche sport because it's one of those things where 90% of people have done it like as a one-off, you know, every now and again you do it. But the amount of people who do that as a job it's like bowling. We've all gone bowling, but the idea of being a full-time bowler is wild. So you meet these, you know, a lot of the professionals on the show. I learnt quite quickly that ice skating is not really the sort of thing you go into out of your own free will.
Right. Okay.
What I've learnt is parents have dreams of their kids being ice skaters, and then they get their kid. Like my partner Tippy, she said, "Oh, my mum's dream was she wanted her daughter to be a ballerina on the ice."
Right,
I was like,
my
mum wanted me to not steal from school. That was it. That was literally, yeah. But the show itself is great. Like, it's so fun. Everybody was so nice. I absolutely had a blast. And that's one of the fun things, and you know this, being a comedian, that we can kind of do anything we want now.
Yeah.
Like, you can be a stand-up, but also you can be a children's author. You know, you can be a musician, a singer, an actor, a poet. You can do you can be like a painter or an artist. You can, you know, I look at like what Joe Lycett does. He does like books of like his paintings that he does when he's bored, and people buy them. I mean, I think he's got a book about bins or something coming out. He's literally got a book about bins, and it's one of those things that's so fun that makes entertainment just stand-up comedy is so much fun now. I think is that we're able to sort of do, and it's not really one of those things where, you know, because me and you have been doing stand-up long enough. Obviously, you've been doing it longer than me. Where it was kind of that whole thing of if you did an advert, you that's it. You're not really a comedian anymore. Yeah. It was that Bill Hicks line of, and I was like, mate, I've done about 7. I've done a lot of adverts at this point.
Mate, I'm praying for adverts. That's what I want.
Mate, get yourself in on get yourself in. When I say adverts, it's mainly voiceovers. They're the only ones that I really get is voiceover adverts. Never get anything for free though. Got it. No, I've done like Uber Eats. I've done like Mini. I've never had one thing for free. Not even like a side order from Nando's. You get nothing.
What?
No, I know. People are like, oh, but you get free stuff from Nando's. Never had one thing. You don't. No.
Isn't there this mystical black Nando's card that there's only a certain amount of them, and depending on your level, like sort of how sort of well known you are.
Do you know how it works?
No.
The black card. So I first heard of the black card from Carl Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Geordie guy, yeah, because he did a corporate with Chris Ramsey.
Right.
They did a Nando's corporate, and he's like, I got it because I went in there, And I just made them laugh and said, obviously I love Nando's and all that, and they gave it me. But the key is you can't ask for it. You can't do that. Once you ask for it, you do not get it. That's how it works.
Oh my god!
So, and how it works is you get a starter, main, dessert for up to 6 people, absolutely free, every single day. But you don't get any, because Nando's sold alcohol. You don't get any alcohol. There's no alcohol included. So when I was with him, he would just go over and go, "Hey, anybody want Nando's?" We were like, "Yeah, I'm desperate to get one of those black cards. I really do."
But that's it. Don't ask for it.
Don't ask for it. I mean, I don't want one. No, I'm not interested.
You'd like one if it got offered, but you know
know what?
You haven't asked. I brought it up, so
that is true. Yeah. You know what's brutal about it? Obviously it's based on like whether you're an influencer or whatever, and they check your social media every year to see whether you're like on the rise or not. And just imagine you have one and it gets taken away.
Oh, fucking hell!
Brutal.
That's awful, isn't it? That you just get that letter in the post or however they do it, that email.
And then you're back at the Glee Birmingham, and Rich, you got your Nando's. Let's get a Nando's. Yeah, about that. It's all changed.
and it'll go round like wildfire. Wilson's lost his Nando's card.
The next time I see Carl, I haven't seen Carl in a few years. I will say that to him, and I'm hoping he's still got it.
Because I heard there was only so many of them. There wasn't There wasn't a infinite amount. There's a finite amount. You might get a Nando's corporate one day. You never know. I'm eager for it. I'll take the bad gig. I'll take it if it's a horrible gig just to be in there and get one. I don't care. That'll be my pay. Dude, keep it. Give it a club card. Well, now you've smashed your body to bits on the ice. Surely you're eligible. Everyone knows who you are now. It's really elevated you. I mean, you were already up there, but now this has just shot you through the fucking roof, man. It must be weird for you.
It's been really fun. The thing with Dancing on Ice is that I learned quite soon is that the audience it's very different. It's different to sort of a Love Island audience. It's not even really like a stand-up comedy audience. It's more like a family audience who are at home on a Sunday afternoon watching ice skating. So it's always quite interesting because I know that that's an audience that I would never reach normally because we do stand-up in clubs and that audience generally with stand-up in clubs. I mean, I find that most audiences are like all under 35 now. Like everybody in stand-up seems to be very well. Again, I'm talking about like the busy cities. I'm sure if you go a little bit out, you'll see it a bit older. But everybody seems quite young and quite young, quite cool. Metropolitan, living in London, that sort of thing. So I don't really get to that audience that Dancing on Ice has, which is sort of like the more middle-aged, sort of elder couples and families who would watch an ice skating show. So it's nice to speak to them a little bit. And I've no idea what it's going to do for my career, but ultimately I had a good time, and I did that. When you're a comedian on any of these shows, you've always just got to be funny.
Yeah.
Like even if you're mad, you're pissed off, you feel like you've been mistreated or anything like that, you've just got to be funny.
Yeah.
Because it's your job. I knew going
in.
Yeah. It's like, you've done it when you do a TV show or some sort of panel and you're the only comedian and you're like, well, okay, I guess I got to be bringing the laughs in because nobody else is gonna, and you have that like pressure. And with Dancing on Ice, I knew that as well as, the skating side, of course, you've got to be good. But as soon as Holly and Phil asked me a question, anytime, I knew I had to be funny. So they would come up to me, and it was really nice because the producers would come up to me and they'd go, "Oh, we've got questions for you." And every week they'd ask me questions because they said that I was being funny. I was the only one who was trying to be funny. So they would ask me a question, and sometimes I was silly, over the top, funny, and they said they really liked that. And I went, "Well, yeah, because I know that for a show like that, being the best ice skater is not going to get me where I need to be, really." like winning the show's fine and would be great, but I know that in 5 years' time, no one's going to be booking me because I'm an ice skater.
No, yeah, true.
In 6 months' time, they're going to be booking me because they saw me and they thought I was funny and likable, and I showed that I could be funny on live TV.
Yeah.
So to me, as much as the ice skating was important, that part to me was like, if ice skating was like middle priority, being funny to me was even more than being good at ice skating, because I just knew that's where my value is, that's where my stock is. None of us are professional ice skaters. No one expects us to be amazing, but they do expect me to be funny because that's my job. So I had to make sure that I did that all the time, and that's like an extra little bit of pressure that nobody else had to go through on the show. But then again, I put myself through it because I knew that was what I did, and you wouldn't notice it when you watch the show, but I would, I'd get like 2 minutes before, they'd say, "Oh, Darren, we've changed this question. Holly and Phil are going to ask you blah, 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 blah." And I'd be like, "Okay."
Oh, wow.
And then I'll just be sitting there going, "Okay, where should I go with this?" In my head, just working out what the question is, because I know that I've got to do it. And they've never had on the show a proper stand-up comic, like
really?
like a modern stand-up comic. They've never had somebody like us on the show. I mean, they've had a comedian on, but it was like Joe Pasquale,
Right?
And it was
okay.
and what Joe Pasquale does is he's constantly sort of pulling pranks and being silly, and there's also it's that it's old school type of comedy, as opposed to somebody who's a bit more new school. But also on the ice, I was very serious with like the training, and they were quite surprised. I think one of the trainers was quite surprised how serious I was when it came. I was like, well, yeah, I wouldn't do this if I didn't. I didn't think I could do it, and that's another thing. Have you noticed that, Rich? Because how long have you been doing comedy for now?
19 years.
19 years. Have you noticed how comedians now are like athletes? There's like athlete comics around, man. There's like CrossFit superstars. There's like proper fit athletes. I can't remember who it was, but I was talking to a comic and it was like, I miss the days where like comedians would be like doing coke in the green rooms and they'd be like hammered on stage and all. I was like, I don't see. If I saw a comedian drunk on stage, like actually, I would look at it like a horror show. Like, oh my god, what is happening? You just don't see that.
Even when I started, even behind the bar, when I started out, and you'd see that like comedians were just fucking on it. They were just pissed off their heads. There's a famous story of Glenn Wall being off his head on pills, and he was halfway through his set. They had to turn him round because he was doing it to the curtain. I mean, I don't know if it's true. I've heard that story a few times, but it's you don't get that now. In fact, if you feel weird if you're drinking a beer or alcoholic drink in a green room. Yeah, I'll do it. I don't do it. It's certain gigs I do that at. I'll be like, fuck it, this is like being in my lounge. I'm gonna have a drink. Yeah. But a lot of the time, you don't even think about it. You're like, I'm not gonna have a drink. I just need to do the gig, and I don't want to look like one of those old sad comics sitting in the corner. Why did it never happen for me? And you're just getting pissed. Yeah. We've all seen those fellas, and I don't want to be that. So you have to be on it now.
There is something to be said for the sort of comic on stage, mic in the stand, sort of wobbling beer in his one hand, ranting, and the beer's spilling. There is something to be said for that kind of like a sort of old school, sort of loud, ranty comic with a beer. But I guess that's like Edinburgh, though, isn't it? Now, Edinburgh, you see a lot of comedians just go off the rails for the month. Yeah. I think a lot of it is because, some comedians are married, kids. They have a very sort of a life that is sort of, I take the kids to school, pick the kids up, go to this gig, blah, 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 blah. And then Edinburgh is like, oh, it's half term anyway. I don't have to do any of that. Also, my kids are in Manchester. I'm in Edinburgh. I'm 35 and I'm in a uni dorm for a month. It just gets wild. There's always stories of comics coming back from Edinburgh who are like, oh, I don't drink anymore. Yeah, I don't drink. Nah.
Yeah, I'm just. I'm done. And you just go, wow, something happened to you, man. Something happened to you. But you have to. I feel because it's not just a case of now just doing comedy. You have to do so many other things. Like you have to do podcasts and social media things, and you always have to be putting stuff out. That doing that and being pissed and things, you just can't do it. This has now become. This is like a 24-hour job almost. Like you're always thinking about the next thing you have to do, and like you said, you did Dance on Ice and you've had a great time doing it. But really, it's just an advert for you and to get people to come to see you at your shows, really. And so you need to be on it. So you can't be drunk in green rooms and drinking like we used. Those old boys wouldn't be able to cut it now. They just would fall by the wayside. It's almost like you have to keep fighting your corner now more than ever to keep relevant and involved.
That's a very good point. Comedians nowadays, we have to do like everything. Like, yeah. I mean, back in the day, it was you could literally just go on stage, do jokes, make a good living, go home when you're done. Yeah. Whereas now, we're all putting out content online. Yeah. Most comedians now are video editors. Yeah. Or, they all know how to edit videos, do their own subtitles, make funny videos. I've now trying to make funny videos at home because I see it and I go, oh, yeah, this is like, they're selling a lot more tickets now because they put out funny videos and people just flock to it. It's, my agent probably wouldn't like me saying this, but I go, it's way better than TV. Yeah. Pulls in way more numbers than TV. If I would give up... I would happily give up 6 months worth of solid TV work for a clip. No, I'd give up a year's worth of solid TV work for one clip that gets 10 million views on any social media platform, because I know that those views are going to equal people following me, and I could tour. I could have a really big tour off one clip and. Everything it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, there's a few comics now who, you look and you go, whoa, you're so, I was following you. Whoa, your social media, you've got 1 million followers now. What happened? And you look and you go, oh, that video got 5 million views. Oh, that got 10 million views. And all of a sudden, they're in a completely different space with different people offering them so many different things. And all they have to do is just go on tour. Yeah. I mean, you can look at Nigel Ong. Like Nigel just left everybody completely, and he's like, I'll just do YouTube stuff and sell out the Apollo.
Yeah, off the back of that.
What? Oh, whatever, Nigel. What happened to us at the Pleasance 4 years ago, mate? Well, who do you think you are? Come back. That's mate, funny.
He's gone.
Yeah, you're gone.
But isn't it funny though that we're talking about this now? But when we started out, when you think where you came from, now we spoke about this before on your episode. We talked about where you grew up and how you grew up and the environment you were in, and now you're on TV ice skating. How fucking mad is that?
It's wild. Yeah. When I did a few interviews with newspapers and stuff, and they would ask me about my life, being in a gang, carrying a knife, all of that sort of stuff, my dad's death, and then in my head I'd talking about when I was young I definitely would have stabbed somebody because that was the mentality we had and all this, and then it'd be like, so you're doing Dancing on Ice with Joey Essex and Ekin Su and Vivian, a drag queen, and I'm like, yeah, I know, it's weird, isn't it? Everything has really changed. The blades in my hand are now on my feet. Like, what is going on? It's such a strange life, because I do think about the way things were when I was younger and how different things could have been. Like I said, I definitely would have stabbed somebody or been killed or stabbed or whatever myself. And then to 20 exactly 20 years later, I'm doing a ITV entertainment show in a pair of gold tight shorts, skating around an ice rink. It's and the thing about the show that was great for me was all my family came. So when you do the show, you get 6 tickets. when you're on the show. You get 6 guest tickets. They sit in the family area. They'll be on TV. They'll all be interviewed and all that sort of stuff. And so all of my family came to every single one. I had... Amazing. Literally, they all took it in turn. So my aunties this time, my uncles, cousins, mom. My mom came down. It was great, and they've all been on ITV cheering. They had banners and all this sort of stuff. And my family, it's pretty similar to your family. They're not a TV family, but but they support me. They're not gonna, they're not a TV. It's not like they're trying to get guest tickets to places. They've never been to a show before, so they're all coming down. And being on the TV and cheering was amazing. Like, that was probably my favourite bit about doing the show, was they all got to come down and see me. It was great.
Yeah, I bet it was amazing.
Yeah, it really was.
But isn't it funny, if you think back to younger you, when you're wandering around with a knife in your pocket, saw that older you was going to be doing this now.
Yes. It's ridiculous. It's so crazy, and it really hits me quite a bit, because I think about what I was like and my mentality and all that, and then I think if I had stabbed someone and went to prison, and that's it, my whole life is just completely different. One stupid mistake, my whole life is completely different. And whenever I read the newspapers, and there's always some teenage kid being killed, or some gang affiliated or whatever, and the kid's 14, 15, I always feel really sad, because I always feel really sad, obviously, for the kid that's been murdered. Yeah. But I also feel bad for the kid that's done it, because I guarantee if you just speak to the kid, probably just very much a kid still, who just had a moment of madness. Like, I was watching one, I can't remember what the it was like a London thing about gangs, like a film, right? And they showed this one kid who stabbed another kid and killed him, and then as he run off, he was like, "Yeah, got ya," and I was like, it wouldn't be like that. No. This kid was like, "Yeah, we got him, blood. Yeah," and the kid was like, "Bro," and I was like, that wouldn't happen. Like, you wouldn't be jumping for joy that you've just murdered this kid when you're 15. You wouldn't do that. You'd immediately have regret. You would immediately be like, "Oh no, what have I done? My life has changed." You wouldn't be sort of dancing over his. It's stupid. Yeah. And whenever I see it, I always just think, man, this kid who's now going to spend, his life is completely ruined. Yeah. As it should be for killing someone. But I'm like, God, it could have just been so different with just a blink of an eye. It's a blink of an eye difference from doing something like that and not doing something like that. And, because I always look at it and go, that could have been me so easily. So there's a part of me that always sees these other kids and goes, you could be me now. You could be doing this. It's it always really gets me, that. Yeah,
there is that. I think they need to realise that trying to impress their mates, like the other members in the gang, ain't the be all and end all, because that's not going to be around forever, is it? For whatever reason, they're going to. Some of them will get banged up. Some of them are going to get killed. Some of them are going to they're going to go off. And you're going to be left with what you did forever.
I mean, how many of your mates from high school do you still even talk to? You still even know? When that's them in the gang. They're like, no, these are my boys for life. What? You're still going to be hanging about with these same guys doing the same thing in 30 years? It's not going to happen. No. But at that time, you think it's all about them. You think they're all about you. And these are my boys. We're boys for. And it's never ever like that. It's just such a waste. It's such a shame that because it happens so much now, and I can only imagine how worse it is with social media. And because I didn't have it. That's the thing. I'm old enough where we had MSN Messenger at school. And MSN Messenger, talking to my mates, was the reason why they all beat me up in the gang, because we had an argument on MSN Messenger. There was no Facebook, there was no MySpace, there was none of that. So imagine, because MySpace came out a year later. So I left school in 2005. MySpace I had MySpace, I think near the end of that year, but I'd already left school. So
Yeah.
I can only imagine what things would have been like with MySpace. You and your mates arguing about who's in your top 8 and what song and all that nonsense going on. And
Yeah.
it would have been really bad. And now, of course, you've got all these apps. You've got, you've literally got 12-year-old kids who are able to edit videos, edit YouTubes, make great thumbnails and all this. If you've got a beef with somebody, you can easily make a song and a video. That's what drill is.
Mate.
That's how drill has got so big, because
really?
because so obviously when you look at normal music videos, it's all produced by somebody who does music videos for a living, somebody who probably does a film, a TV show, etc., etc. Drill music, because obviously it's all about the hiding their identities and the balaclavas and a bunch of guys. 9 times out of 10, when you watch a drill video, it's terrifying. You're like,
Right.
I wouldn't want to be near any of these. There's like 30 guys, hoods up, gun fingers. I don't want to do that, and it's because it's their own friends, normally the ones who are in their crew, who are probably under the age of 20, who can edit videos like an absolute boss. And then they can put these videos out every day, and it helps them with their anonymity as well, because they don't have to, they don't have to contact a video editor, because they've got like 5 in their crew anyway. Because when you go to school now, a lot of schools don't really do textbooks anymore. It's all sort of like online. It's all iPads and computers. So there are, whereas when I went to school, we had IT, where we had to go into a room to have computers. So that's why they're so good at getting videos edited. Now, I mean, you know this because you do a show with my podcast, Shame is Delicious. We have to get a thumbnail guy. We had to find a separate thumbnail guy who, that's what his job is. He makes thumbnails for YouTube. He knows exactly what YouTube to get the algorithm.
Okay.
And that's his job. I pay him once a week to make one thumbnail. That's his whole job. It's crazy that this is like a career that you can have. Yeah. And he does really well off it. He's very good.
Yeah. I think I'm lucky. I've got producer Paul. He does all that. He takes care of everything. I don't have to worry about it.
You're lucky.
And what I love is that producer Paul loves new tech, and he loves new things. And so when he finds a new way of putting these videos together, he gets all excited, and I'm like, I'm so glad I've got you, because if it was just me, I'd have one thing and it wouldn't change ever.
I'd have a complete stencil. It's a nice stencil.
It's fucking great. He does it all. He goes, right, I've just found this new thing, and I'm like, all right, I trust you, and let's do it. And we do it, and it's always brilliant. It's always brilliant. So these people, like you say, they don't even need managers now. They don't need agents, and they don't need record labels, and they don't need.
Yeah,
they do it themselves.
It's a good thing. It really is, especially because obviously we're comedians, so we can talk about comedians. There's a lot of comedians who you look at and you go, I can't see a comedy, like a modern, like an entertainment comedy agent, shall we say, representing you.
No.
Because I don't think you are. First of all, it sounds horrible, but I don't think you as a person fits TV. Like your material, the way you speak, the way you are, the way you look, it's probably not going to work for TV. But what you can do now is you don't need it. No. If you've got the drive, you don't need an agent anymore. No. I've got terrible drive. I need an agent. I need somebody to help me with my diary and sort all this out. But there's a lot of guys and girls who learned how to edit videos, put videos out every few days.
Yep.
And they're really and what's happened now is there's almost a divide, because so I do quite a bit of TV, and I'm not popping on socials. But there's people who are popping on socials who do zero TV. Yeah. And a lot of the and what's quite funny is the people who are popping on socials, who are doing really well on socials, they're selling way more tickets than me currently on a tour, because it's shifted. It's shifted heavily into the people online. So now there's guys like me who do quite a bit of TV, who's trying to catch up with the internet socials guys, because when you think of like selling tickets on a tour, as a comedian. And I keep bringing up selling tickets on a tour as a comedian because essentially that's kind of everything that we do.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't do Dancing on Ice because I wanted to ice skate. I did it because I wanted to, well, it's something different, but it helped me sell tickets on a tour. People know me. That's the whole point of you do all these things is, you want a bit more visibility and stuff. And
exactly, yeah.
But the guys who are, working their butts off, putting out these clips, they're usually doing really well on tour. And what I tell other comedians because there's a lot of comedians who are like, oh man, all the content, man, I don't want to do any of it. And I'm sick of seeing it. I go, the world is a big place. It's very big. Like, my Instagram used to be full of just people in a podcast studio, people posting clips of crowd work, people posting, and you go, it looks big to me and a lot because I'm in that world. But, your friend doesn't have that at all. Your friend does not have constant podcast. They don't at all. Also, if you're a comedian, you can just mute. Like, there's no shame in I've muted so many comics who are my friends and I like them a lot. But I've muted them because I'm like, I don't need to keep seeing these every day. I don't need to keep seeing it every single day. And it's healthy, man. I actually think it's good for your mental health to just mute. Because obviously, I don't want them to think I don't like them because I do really like them and I really respect them and I think they're very talented. But some of the posts, they just don't do me any good. No. Like, some of your posts don't make me feel good. And you're not doing it on purpose, obviously. So I'll mute you. Oh, it's great. Whole new world.
Yeah, I've done a bit of that. And I'm sure it's happened to me as well. Because you can tell by the engagement when you post stuff. And you go, there's not many people, not many comics engaging in this. You go,
Rich,
I've been muted, man. I've been muted. I know I have.
Rich, I know a few comics and I've looked at my stories and I've gone, so-and-so's never watched one of my stories. I'm muted. I've been muted. I know you know it. I can tell. I know what comics have muted me. And I'm like, and I cannot complain because I have done it. 9 times out of 10, I've probably muted them as well. It's fine.
You just, like you say, it's not personal. And people listening to this that aren't in this industry that we're in, it's the same for them as well. Like, if you're listening to this and there's people in your life that you just go, I love you, but I can't see your bullshit that you pump out online. I just can't watch it. That's a different person, the stuff that's coming out online. That's just their online presence. Just mute them.
Rich, how many people do you think were muted when the vaccine came out and they were heavy anti-vax and their posts were about... Because I've always been... When it comes to the vaccine, I don't care if you're anti-vax. I don't care if you're pro-vax. Just don't make it your whole personality.
Yeah,
that's all. Yeah. That's my whole thing. So if you're posting too much about the vaccine or anti-vaccine, I'm gonna mute you because I don't want to hear either one.
I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it. I don't need to see you posting about it. And I'm sure there's a lot of that. There was a lot of that when George Floyd died. There was a lot of mad posts and all that. People getting muted left, right, and centre. Then, well, some of them are just unfollowed. But you've got to do it, I think, for your own mental health. And I think some people feel quite guilty about doing it because they almost feel like they're sort of disrespecting their friend or their mom or their whoever. And you can't, man. Just protect your own sanity.
Exactly. For your own good.
Yeah.
Because I do know there's been a couple of people and they've gone, oh, did you see so-and-so said blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I haven't seen any of them. Oh, yeah, I muted them. And then I have to go and have a look. And then I'll go, oh, shit, yeah, that's a bit fucking nuts what they're posting there. That's why I muted them, because I don't want to see that batshit stuff. Honestly.
It does feel very strange when you know you've muted somebody, but you go and check their page out. It is a strange feeling. Like, I didn't want to see your post, but I should check in just to see if... and maybe in my head, I'm just weighing up a decision as to whether I'm going to unmute them for a bit.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I will unmute some people just because I want to see something different in my stories at the top, like a different face, because you just get the same faces, and you go, let's spice things up a little bit on a Monday. Why not? Let's
change it up, man. Yeah. I'm the same. Yeah, it's just sometimes I'm like, no, I don't want to see this anymore. And I just got, it's got to just, and I'm sure, the trouble is I don't post much. I post a bit, but I'm always being told I don't post enough. And I'm like, yeah, but I post all the time. Like, no, you've got to post 3 times a day, and you've got to be on it, and you've got to be this. And I'm like, I haven't got time. I haven't got time. You
know what it is, Rich? You've kind of got to, so doing the podcast, and this is your podcast, when you put the clips out, every now and again, whoa, you strike lucky. Yeah. You'll throw a clip in and you'll check it 2 hours later, you have 5,000 views. Yeah. What? I posted this too. What? I normally get 5,000. That's like me. I get 5,000 in a week. 5,000 in 2 hours. Oh my gosh, what's happening? And then there's this algorithm, and you try, and then you'll post another clip, and you'll get like 200, and you're like, oh no, it's so hard. It is like you are chasing that high, and there's some comics who are like the most prolific in terms of videos. I mean, Rialina and Dane in particular. Yeah. I love both of them. Jesus, Rialina's posting like... Dane posts like 3 stand-up clips a day. I don't know how he does it. I don't know where he gets the clips from. I don't know what he's doing. Because when the comic is posting a lot of clips and you go, wait, that's a clip of you with hair. Who are you trying to fool? That's an old... You're posting... But Dane's is all like recent, and he's one of those guys that he sees it and he just keeps posting it and posting and posting, and what will happen is eventually you'll strike gold. You'll get that clip, and it's very odd because comedy is all about like in the moment. It's supposed to be in the moment, that live feeling. Whereas now, I've done stand up on stage a few times recently where I've said something in a certain way because I know that I'm editing it on a clip. Right. And I know that that's going to be put up as a bit of stand up at some point. So let me make sure that I say it this way because I want the subtitles to have like it's little things like that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what? I'm giving myself that extra little bit of pressure on doing stand up because that is where it's going. It is all online. It's like I'll tell you what's happening. All the comedians now are just putting out sort of stand-up specials on YouTube. Like the days of, remember that, I remember the days of like, oh, HBO special. Oh, somebody's got a Comedy Central special. Oh, who's this? What? Remember when Netflix had Netflix special was like, what is going on? Nowadays, like, it's not the same. Most comics won't even bother even thinking of Netflix or a Prime or anything like that. They will immediately just go, I'm filming it. What are you going to do? I'm putting it on YouTube. I'm going to film it. I'm going to cut it into about 15 clips, all edited, subtitles, minute long. Put them out over the next few months. Then I'll release the full special. Bam. Yeah. That's exactly how people do it now. And again, it's that whole thing of putting it, taking it back and putting it all in your own hands. And to record a special now and get it edited and that, it's not that much money.
No.
Because all you need is 3 cameras. And let's be honest, every single comedian has about 2 or 3 cameras now at home because everybody's recording themselves. They know production companies that would happily come and record it. I mean, I did a gig the other day and 2 of the acts who were on had brought their own film crews to record. Hell. They brought their own film crews to come in. There was one had 2 guys with gigantic cameras who was filming because they're filming a special. But these are all acts who are really good on socials. And I was like, maybe. And it was at Top Secret as well. And Top Secret, as we know, have recordings that they send out.
Yeah.
But this act was like, well, no, I actually want it to look a certain way. So he had his own guys with like mounted cameras to record.
Fucking hell.
This is what it is, Rich. This is what it is. This is stand-up now. It's not to be digested in the room as well. It's purely to be digested laying on your back, swiping to the right as you go through different... That is what stand-up is now.
Mate, going back to what you said about being on stage and editing as you go, because you're recording it for a clip. I did it. I put the clip up, but I remember before... when the thing happened in the room, and then I actually said to the audience, I went, that's the one, that's it, that's going out on TikTok, that's the one. And everyone was laughing, and I'm like, oh, I sound like such a prick.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Heckler gets destroyed.
I actually
Comedian.
put it, yeah.
What did you put?
I put.
I think I saw. Hang on, I think I saw this one. Was it something like comedian gets destroyed or something like that?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
I saw that.
So that's it, and you got to word it so people go, "What's this?" Just to get them to click on it. So now I'm gonna put things up like comedian gets beheaded live on stage or whatever.
yeah. There's so many. You've got to do it. I mean, we all hated clickbaity titles at one. Oh, it's just a bit of clickbait, because. But I'm telling you, on YouTube and those algorithms and the socials, it really works. I'll tell you what also really works. I remember when there was a few comedians now that have sort of really blown up on socials. They would unashamedly post a video and they would put it in a WhatsApp group. Can everybody retweet it for me?
Yeah,
and they would say,
and
they would say, can you all retweet? And it really does work. And there is something in it to be said with comedians, man. Like if we all just started our own WhatsApp group, like a big one where there's like 20 of us, and we literally all just go, hey guys, why don't we all just post each other's videos? Like if I'll post this video, because I mean, how many videos have you retweeted where you haven't even watched the video? I do it all the time. I'll retweet a friend of mine's video because it's a friend of mine. Yeah, sure. Go. Let me help you get some more views. And I think just a nice WhatsApp group, and it's purely, and I'd be strict with it as well. I would be like, no. This is, you just post a video in. That's it. Because what will happen is it'll just turn into like a bitch comedy fest all the time. And it'll be you know what comedians... No, we're not doing that here. This is purely just to help each other grow on socials. Let's stay away from...
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
All the gossip. I'm not in any of the groups, and but I'm mates with a couple of people that are, and I get my gossip from them. Yeah. And they tell me what I get screenshots going, this is what's going around today. I'm like, fuck it hell. Just such a bitchy bunch of bastards. Honestly.
There's always something, isn't there? There's always something. I mean, comedians arguing with other comedians is something that, I'm not used to. I mean, I did my first gig 2006, and the idea of comedians like trying to get other comedians to not be booked for gigs because they don't like their jokes is insane.
Hell, what?
It's insanity to me because people wonder why audience members can be so brutal online, like doxing comedians. You do a joke, they don't like, this comedian's a racist, and then they'll the thing about that makes us so easily accessible is all we're doing is promoting where we're going to be. So if you hate us, you just get our tour poster. You can then contact the venues on Twitter, which people do. I've seen do for other comics, and say, "Why would you book this guy? He clearly hates black people or hates Asians." And people wonder why that happens, and it's because a lot of comedians attack other comics for doing jokes that they don't like or don't agree with, and I just think it's very strange to me because everybody's level of honesty is different. You got into this industry for different reasons because I got into this industry, and not everybody got into comedy because they have a happy, sunny disposition. They had a great upbringing. They have a great life. I got into comedy because I had pain in my life. So my comedy is always going to have some of that pain in it. Yeah. But to other people, that pain might be like, whoa, this is too much. But I know, but it's like my pain. Like why? Why am I not allowed to sort of talk about comedy and do it in this way? It's the strangest thing about comedy now. Yeah. Probably even more stranger to me than the whole online sort of YouTube clip comedy, because I always used to think that comedians were like properly together.
Yes. Yeah.
That was it, right? It's us versus the agents, the reviewers, the audience members, the bad bookers. That's us. And
yeah, man. Yeah. And I remember there was one particular older comic years ago. I think I just started doing comedy, so I was the other side of the bar now. But I remember talking to him. No, I was behind the bar. And I remember saying to him like you get here just before you're on, and then you fuck off. Like, what's all that about? And he's like, these aren't my mates. They're colleagues. I've got friends in the industry, but I know them and we work together and there's no animosity, but I'm not here to see them. I'm here to do a job. I'm just doing my gigs and then I'm fucking off. And I was like, shit, I didn't realise. I thought everyone was a pal, everyone was a mate.
Yeah.
Everyone.
It's
now
ahead
you
of its
find
time.
you've got your pockets now. You've got certain, like, I like to get on with everybody, but there's certain people that I would call up or I would text. And there's other people that I don't know in that way, so I don't. But
Yeah.
But I'll message people online, like with you, if I see you in a decent pair of shoes, which is often.
Thank you,
and I
sir.
fucking love that.
Couple
So
of
I'm
style
always like,
icons we are.
mate, you know what? I say it all the time on here. Footwear is so important, and you shall be judged if yours is lacking.
You know what I always think of when footwear. I think of that John Bishop was talking about how, I think he was doing a gig in Liverpool when he was doing weekends, and he would say, the worst thing you could do was like die on your ass on the first night of a weekend, because then you'd have to come back and you'd have to face the bouncers and them, and nobody would want to look you in the eye. And he'd go, that's why I always wore a mad pair of shoes. He says, because that way they'd always look down and be like, fucking hell, you're wearing cowboy boots. That's great.
It's important. For various reasons. But that's what I mean. So I'll message you and go, cracking wheels, man. But that's it. So there are pals. There are pockets of you that you make friends and you're in WhatsApp groups and things like that. But then that's the same with everything. But yeah, it isn't as everyone in it together. That I think some people get on. They jump on these pylons because they see it as I'll get another person out of the way because they're the reason I'm not further up the ladder. So if I get a more successful comedian out of the way, then that'll help me. Or they attach their name to a controversy, so they'll be tweeting about it or they'll be doing something, so their name's involved in it somewhere.
What?
And you're like, just fucking don't.
What always gets me is, it's like, do these people not see that it could be you tomorrow? Like, it doesn't. I think what happens is people always think it has to be the extremes. It has to be a comedian on stage saying, every offensive racist word with a joke that doesn't really land as well. It has to be that. Well, no, sometimes it could just be, Nish Kumar had dinner rolls thrown at him at a charity gig because he talked about how bad the government was.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then he got ragged through online by all the sort of Tories who are anti-Nish. And I know Nish, sort of pushes out the Tories online and whatnot as well.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you see how easy it could be if you just do material that somebody doesn't agree with. It doesn't always have to be, this person was saying, all this horrible stuff about, trans women or something. It doesn't have to be that. It could be such a little thing. It will happen at some point to a comedian who just says they don't like dogs. They'll be like, that's what's going to happen. They'll just do material about how they don't like dogs. And I tell you now, they will lose gigs. People will be like, how do you not like dogs? What is going on? Because that's kind of where we're at, this outrage. But then, you on the other side, if I'm just playing devil's advocate, it makes comedy feel exciting. We're dangerous.
Mate, I know what you mean. And then again, you kind of go, there's no such thing as, all publicity is good publicity and all that sort of thing. Yeah. And I don't know. But it is getting a bit, even the other night, I did a gig in Reading and I'd done a bit about kinky sex. And it's not even graphic. It's just saying that the thing is with kinky sex, once you've both finished, all you're left with is admin. Like, you got to pick up after you, so you've got to tidy up. And that's all it is. And I do this bit about my wife coming down from the ceiling like Tom Cruise down a lift shaft. And my wife has seen that joke many times and she laughs at it and we laugh at it. And so I did that the other night. And then I was doing some more stuff. So I was about sort of 7-8 minutes away from that material that I'd just done. And then this woman put her hand up. And I'm like, what's up? And she just said, why do you think it's okay for someone like you to talk about kinky sex? I went, what do you mean? Like, she said, well, why do you think it's okay to talk about those things? And I went, well, because it's my life. I mean, we all get up to things. We all do stuff. And we should be able to talk about it and laugh about it, And I said, why? What's the matter? Do you have an issue with this? And she went, I just don't think it's appropriate to be talking about it. And I went, but what if we go down that road and we try to cater for everybody, we won't talk about anything. And it wasn't even a controversial bit. It's just about the fact that if you indulge in kinky sex and toys and tying up or whatever, when you've finished, you've got to tidy up and you've got to put it all away and you've got to untie each other or whatever else. It's a stupid bit.
Yeah.
She got so upset. Yeah. And I just thought, what the fuck, man?
You know what can happen with stand-up? That it's always something that we all forget sometimes with hecklers, and it just made me think of it. You don't know how you look to audience members.
No, true.
And how you come across. So, as in, obviously you're being funny, but to her, she might he reminds me of my dad. He reminds me of the guy of a teacher. He reminds me of this. And so the way she's you shouldn't be talking about it, it triggered something in her. It got her thinking about someone. And she's like, well, because the way she said it, it sounds like there are people who look a certain way that she would be okay with that, whether that's a woman or whatever. But you saying that to her is like, no.
Yeah.
A man of your age should not be talking about those kinds of things. It's so strange that and this goes for all hecklers. You would see a room of people having a good time, laughing.
Yeah.
And then you've moved on from the material. And there's a part of you that's like, no. I need to hear him on this. I need to hear what he thinks of how he thought that was an acceptable joke to make on stage at a comedy gig. That's why I this will definitely bite me back in the arse at some point. I am such a big defender of comedians at all times.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the joke is. You're a comedian, you're on stage, you're doing a joke.
Yeah.
That, the best sort of response to anybody who goes, why do you make a joke like that? I'm on stage. I'm doing comedy. I'm not, tweets are always harder because you don't really know what people are tweeting. And I would also say podcasts have made it very hard because, 9 times out of 10 on the podcast, you are trying to be funny, but sometimes you're just talking and and when the mob comes for you, they go through your podcast clips going, he laughed at this. And it's like, come on, guys. How many hours of podcasts have you done, Rich? Hours. There's probably stuff that if somebody really hated you, they could go, let's get him. Let's get him on that.
And there's stuff we've edited as well. Like, that's the thing, when I've got into something with a comedian and we've been laughing and it's been really close to the edge. And it's afterwards, I get a message going, we're going to have to delete that. And I'm like, yeah, we better delete that. Because it's just two comics having a laugh. But it sounds like we're saying, it's okay to laugh at whatever it was we were laughing at.
Mate.
And you go, actually, we need to not put that out. Because it'll get misconstrued. The context won't be there.
The best thing we've got for our podcast is we have a female producer who is very, very left and used to work for the BBC.
Right.
And it's the best because me and Ishan need that. We need it. We need that because some of the stuff, because we will just make horrendous jokes constantly. And she'll go, like the other day, she went, we're going to have to take the AIDS stuff out. That's literally what she said. And me and Ishan were like, fine. Yeah, fine. There's always one because we're literally just being comics, just having a laugh about whatever, and in today's world, somebody will pick it up and go, well, this is what he means. I remember talking to one comic, a female comic, and we mentioned Bill Burr because he was performing, and she went, I think he hates women, and I was like. And I was like, I don't know. I don't take everything he says as a statement of fact. No, I don't know. I just think it's
just being funny.
Yeah,
and that's the point. And if you listen to Bill Burr and other things, and the way he talks about his wife and his kids, of course he doesn't hate women. Yeah. He just hates that there's a stereotype he's talking about, and that's what he's joking about. But he's not saying all women are shit. They should all be. It's not. He's making a joke about it, and that's. When you see these pylons, and there's been one recently, and I was looking at it, and I'm like,
I've seen that one.
Hell, man. And then people had sent me the clip, and I went, all right. I said, so it's not really my place to say whether what was said is racist or not, but from what I can see, he was actually talking about the word and why it's bad and why it's bad. He wasn't, and I'm like, but then I wouldn't even use that word as to explain that. It's not even my place to get involved in that. You kind of.
I always stay out of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm always on the side of a comic on stage.
Yeah.
So I always, even what's going on there and all that. I'm like, yeah, but he's on stage doing comedy. I mean, I don't like in that joke in question. I'm not a fan of the joke. I don't think it's a particularly good joke. But that doesn't matter. That's not the point. Unfunny joke is the birth of a funny joke. That's kind of how it works. But I'm always just like, they're on stage doing comedy, but then you get other comics getting involved, and then you get members of the public who are all involved, and then what happens is, boy, did it spiral quickly. I mean, literally, the 2 hours later, they've got other clips of this comedian. Then they've got this comedian's parents involved.
Oh God,
material of their parents involved, and it's like, what? And then you can see people going on podcasts where they're also doing similar jokes that people were annoyed about on the podcast with other comedians, and then they're finding the tour dates of the comedian, and then they're contacting the tour saying, why would you at this theatre book this person, clearly a racist, here's the clip. And it's like, guys, this is exactly what happens. This is why I if you don't like the joke and all that, fine. You don't have to like the joke. If you can kick up arms online if you want, but I just don't agree with getting their parents involved. And now and the comedian in question didn't make it easy for themselves as well, because they did put out some stuff going against the left and all this sort of stuff and making jokes that people on the left might be racist as well, and all this other stuff. And it was like, yeah, I get where you're trying to be funny, but be careful, because there is a backlog of stuff that people have got, and it's gone pretty bad. But that's what can happen. And for me, even if I agreed with the people coming at the comic, I still wouldn't be public in a way where I'm like, yeah, why would you say this? Blah, blah, blah. Because guess what? Tomorrow it could be me. It could be me so quickly. It could be you. It could be any one of us. Like they're on a stage doing comedy. You know, jeez.
And it's there's no room for that comedian to say sorry. Oh, really? Do you know what? You've raised a valid point. I'll take it on board. I'll be more careful going forward. It's that need to absolutely destroy that person's life. And it's not enough to just say sorry and go, yeah, you're right. I'll think about it. It's like, no, you have to be destroyed. I have to ruin you. And they get such a fucking boner for it. It's really that power. And then they go, yeah, we got him cancelled. We got him ruined. We've ruined his life. He now can't pay his bills. He now can't pay his mortgage. He's going to be homeless. He hasn't got any money for his kids now because he said that thing. And you go, no, I didn't deserve that. There needs to be a conversation, but what you're doing is getting this fucking massive boner for just destroying lives. And so it's
absolutely
just that, and
crazy.
That's not, and it's fucking nuts, man. You don't need to do that. Have a word with him, flag it up like you said. But that needs to destroy.
You just just to mention Bill Burr again. Bill Burr said the best thing he's ever done, because he's had a few controversies online for jokes and whatnot. He said the best thing you do is just don't say anything. Don't apologise. Unless you really want to and you feel like you did wrong. If you've been an asshole, say, yeah, I was an asshole. Yeah, my bad. Or don't apologise. Carry on. I would say the number one comic who is the best at getting in trouble for jokes and staying on the bus and just riding it and never get off is Jimmy Carr. Jimmy Carr's the best. Jimmy Carr. I've not seen a comic get in more trouble online for jokes. And then Jimmy Carr, I would say Jimmy Carr and Ricky Gervais are very good. Ricky Gervais is good because everybody knows Ricky Gervais, and that's that's his thing. And he goes at people online, and he almost, when Ricky Gervais delivers his material, he does it in a way that lets you know that I am being playful, and I know the people who don't like me already don't like me, but I don't care. I'm being playful. Whereas Jimmy Carr, because he's almost like that robotic on stage a little bit with his delivering his material, he just doesn't. He just delivers his jokes. You never hear him apologize. You never hear him talk about it. Like when he got in trouble for the joke about the Travellers on his. That was huge. I mean, it was a very good joke, and that was. I tell you that was one of those jokes where I realized you've got no chance if the mob wants to get you because Jimmy Carr literally said on that special, he goes, "Hey, this joke is the worst joke, one of the worst jokes I've ever come up with. This is the sort of joke that can get somebody cancelled. I know this is a really, really dark joke. Are you ready?" He set it up. He does the joke, right? His material, his show was called His Dark Materials, as in, it's dark jokes. Also, the front cover, he's in a coffin. Yeah. Like, he can't tell you anymore that there's all he needed was like warning tape over his mouth or something. Yeah. All the signs were there that this is going to be a mad, edgy, if you don't like dark jokes, stay away. Ricky Gervais always calls his special, Supernova or something, and then he's doing all these horror. At least Jimmy Carr lets you know, listen, this might not be for you. And even he still got all that, people were calling for him to, I mean, Catherine Ryan was like defending him and all this other stuff, and obviously Jimmy Carr didn't need it, but she's a big supporter of just being funny and doing jokes, and it just shows that when they want to come for you, they will come for you. You just need you need to have everything planned and ready.
All your affairs in order.
There is like stages for it, isn't it? Like I think the first stage is like protecting your own tweets. That's when you go, oh, these tweets are all protected. Here we go, and then the YouTube channel goes to private. It's like little stages, and you go, oh gosh, it's all kicking off.
Well, I look forward to when it happens to us, man.
mate, when it does, I want this episode. You have my full. I'm fully cooperating with you to release this episode and say Darren talks about his impending.
He said it was going to happen. He said it was going to happen.
It will happen to all of us one day. Bloody hell.
Well, that's when we'll start a WhatsApp group. The cancelled.
Yes. Cancelled. Yeah. Bloody hell.
Darren, this has been lovely. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
It's just really nice to see your rise, see where you've come from to where you're at now. It's fucking lovely, man. Honestly, genuinely pleased for you.
You're always one of those comics that I always like seeing in the green room. I'm like, oh, Richie's on. Oh, great, we'll have a good time.
We'll have a nice time.
Yeah, it's always good. I like that. That's one of the fun things about comedy. It's, where ships sailing in the night, but occasionally those ships will just meet up for a little bit. Yeah,
and it's just nice, isn't it? It's a nice place to be. Where can we find you on the socials, Darren?
Yeah, just find me all socials at Darren Harriott. Everything's on there. The tour starts in September. Roadman, do come to that. Also, my podcast with Ishan Akbar, Shame is Delicious. Do give that a listen or a watch ski on the old YouTubes.
Nice. Nicely done. Lovely. I will say, before we go, you mentioned Joe Lycett at the beginning. I owe Joe Lycett an apology. So a few years ago, his book, I can't remember what it's called, Parsnips, the one.
Yeah, Parsnips Buttered.
Yes, Parsnips Buttered. Now, I knew it was coming out, and I bumped into him when I was with my ex Jade, and we were at the Glory in Haggerston, and he was there, and we went up, we were chatting to him, and then I was a bit pissed, and I went, oh yeah, I love the book, man. Yeah, it's really, you can really tell it was written by you rather than someone else. He sort of looked at me and he went, thanks, mate. And I didn't, but I hadn't read it yet. But I was pissed and I didn't know what to say. I wanted to say something nice, so I said that. And it wasn't until I read it and I went, oh my God, these are the letters that he sends to, like the sending letters to the council.
Yeah, he does,
that. And I'm like, you fucking dickhead. I know he won't listen to this, but if anyone knows Joe, just tell him Rich Wilson knows he made a fucking idiot of himself that night. Joe probably doesn't even remember, but it's one of those things that stays with you.
That's so funny. Yeah, I remember that book. It was literally stupid letters. And
stupid letters.
Yeah, you could tell that was written by you. Yeah.
So I just want everyone to know, I fucked up that night. What a dickhead.
That's hilarious.
Listen, Darren, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks.
Lovely, mate. This has been Insane in the Membrane. This has been Darren Harriott. I've been Rich Wilson, and we'll see you next time.